from policy to community action that will make digital spaces safe as well as empowering. This conversation brings together the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, as well as BRAC Uganda, an organization with deep community roots, as we explore what technology-facilitated violence looks like, what the government and the communities are doing, and how coordinated action is rolling out to protect rights as well as ensure justice. Joining me for this conversation is Bayanja Eid Mubarak, a Principal Women in Development Officer at the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. Many thanks for joining us, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Also joining us is Immaculate Adoch, Technical Sector Officer, Community Mobilization, Gender Equality and Social Inclusion with BRAC Uganda. Many thanks for coming through.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great. Let's begin with the Ministry of Gender, and Uganda, I'm made to understand that is joining the global campaign against digital violence that targets women and girls. And for many viewers out there, they could be encountering some of these terms for the very first time: technology-facilitated gender-based violence. Talk to us about this.
Thank you very much, our host and NTV. I want to most sincerely thank you for giving us this space.
You're most welcome.
And good morning to our esteemed viewers. The question has been put, especially on demystifying what is technology-facilitated gender-based violence. You are aware that international policy for elimination of GBV in Uganda, we had demystified and delineated the different category of GBV. And it seems now technology-facilitated GBV is an emerging GBV, which has been facilitated by technology. So the current definition that we have actually adopted is one of UNFPA, which speaks to an act of violence which is facilitated by information, communication, digital, and media. And this can be perpetrated by one individual or more than, and amplified. So the way you receive an image that can actually animate violence, then another person gets it and transmits, and you see how the social media now is, how information is actually running. Now for us, our concern in the technology facilitated GBV is for us to unpack which one are most common forms of technology facilitated GBV. And the most common one actually in Uganda is the non-consensual sharing of image. And this is actually common. By the time I'm sharing my image privately with Immaculate, even if it is not a nude picture, but if it will violate Immaculate without consenting that you share my image, that is already violence, because your picture or your photo can be used otherwise for other benefits for those ones who are actually using it.
That's right.
Then, of course, the common one now is what we call the deep fake. The deep fake is people are collecting nude pictures either from intimate relationships, which also actually now we are naming it as revenge sharing of pictures, especially those ones who have been intimate. And upon this agreement, they are saying, I've gotten a very big opportunity. You remember here we have been running as a country a story of one of the biggest artists, and I think we have used this as a very big example. And this has actually repeated over time. At one time, an ex used it. Even recently when she was actually marrying, they are to bring the same. So something that goes on air, it will come very many times as the one who is perpetrating would actually wish. Then there is what we call doxing. People would wish to use the contacts, telephone numbers, the way they wish. And you remember, the security of the person starts on your contact.
That is right.
Starts on the location that where you come from, the residence. So if this one is actually given without your consent, then it means, then there is what we call cyber harassment, cyber bullying, which actually includes also sexual harassment, that people have actually went viral to use women image to reduce them to that level. Then lastly, the political using technology to bring down women by either using demeaning statements on media to ensure that those ones who are participating in the politics as women, they're using technology to use abusive language. You've seen in very many platforms of social media, so many women who are engaged in politics, these young people who are on social media, they're attacking them. And when they're attacking them, they're even touching that very, very peculiar information that one would not really get. But because they want to subdue this woman, get her out of politics, then they are saying, no, I think this is the button that we must press. So we are concerned as a country that now, going forward, we need now to revisit and say, technology facilitated GBV is an emerging issue. How do we now look quickly into the policy? How do we now look at the national, because we are revising the National Action Plan for elimination of GBV in Uganda. And one key concern that we have taken is to ensure that we are devising robust and pragmatic strategies and actions of ensuring that we are reducing the current figures, the statistics that I have not actually talked, but the current statistics in terms of projections, it is projected at 49% that women and girls are affected with technology facilitated GBV. That's why within the 16 days of activism that we launched last week on Tuesday, the focus is uniting and ending violence. I mean ending digital violence against all women and girls. So we want to use these 16 days that will be ending on 10th of December to amplify our voices, speak for those ones who are voiceless, but also rally the Ugandans on how they can further expand and demystifying and unpacking these different forms of technology-facilitated GBV. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayanja Mbarak from the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. Madame Adoch, BRAC works closely with communities across the country, and from your experiences, could you talk to us about how harmful some of these norms and the dynamics, especially within the digital spaces, are affecting these communities, and how your interventions are helping reverse some of these challenges?
Okay. Thank you so much. First of all, maybe I would just prefer to give a brief introduction about the organization. I work with BRAC Uganda, and BRAC has a threefold presence here in Uganda. We have the BRAC NGO, then there's the BRAC Bank, which most people are aware of, and they know it as a microfinance, but it upgraded to a bank. And then we have also a BRAC Social Enterprise, commonly known for the BRAC Seed. So for the NGO is what I'll speak more on, because that is directly involved with community engagement, and we do that a lot through our different programs. We have a number of programs that look at empowering communities socially, empowering communities economically. That includes the livelihoods and also providing educational support to the learners. Then we also have a very strong pillar that we do not take for granted, that is creating an enabling environment for all our participants. So after they have been empowered, after they have been given the livelihoods and their lives have been transformed, definitely there are certain things that surround them that need to also be tackled, otherwise they become a hindrance to their progress. So we give an all-round approach to ensure that the people that we support, who are our participants, receive the kind of support that they need, whether directly or even indirectly, but not just them, also the people that they live with, including their spouses, including the partners, and the entire community members. So for the digital violence, as my colleague has said, there is a lot that is happening at the moment, given the opportunities that young women and girls have access to the internet, to social media, so many platforms, and they also have access to information. Though some might not be having it yet, but majority, the ones that we see, have it. And this has already caused so much online and also offline. As an organization, we strive to ensure that the communities that we empower not only have access to the digital platforms, but also how can they manage, how can they utilize the offline platforms that they have. So through our programs, we've been able to empower them socially. We have a curriculum that we roll out to our participants, and this curriculum ensures that the participants attain the life skills that they require. They have the mentorship, they have the coaching from people that are within their age brackets. So we call it the peer-led initiative, where they sit in small groups, small circles, either led by the fellow girls. Our target is mainly the girls, adolescent girls, and the young women. So through the conversational circles that they sit and have with, they're able to raise their concerns, they're able to have representation via the media, via different platforms really, within the community, at the district level, and every platform that we find an opportunity to ensure that this adolescent girl and the young woman can share what concerns them from their experience, from their lived experiences. We believe that is very impactful. Secondly, we also engage their spouses. We engage men, we engage boys, because we know that they also are a very strong ally when it comes to bridging the gender inequality gap. So we have sessions that directly tackle the spouses. They are directly tackling the parents and also the caregivers. So through these sessions, they are taken through GBV mitigation, GBV prevention, and GBV response and reporting as well. So with this, they're able to also provide an enabling environment for the participants that we support. Most of the times you realize that once a woman is empowered economically, there's so many notions that come about that, oh, she's now big-headed. Automatically the man is now being looked at as someone else. So those things are there within the communities. It's not different from even the formal spaces that we be in. Yes, so we engage them, we make sure that they consent to their participation so that risks of GBV are mitigated. Then we also engage the community leaders. We ensure that every discussion that we have, we include the community leaders. We have a structure in place within the communities that we call the youth development committees, and these help with reporting and responding to any gender-based violence issues within the community.
Okay, let me stay with you briefly on the differences that you see or the emerging patterns between rural and urban communities in terms of digital literacy. What are the vulnerability touch points? I was thinking deeply about the fact that if somebody is literate, and means they can access the digital platforms more easily than the illiterate, their vulnerability increases in a certain way. However, those who are not literate digitally also the vulnerability increases on account of not knowing what the threat is.
Yes.
Tell us about those patterns and how you are intervening on that.
Well, for such patterns, we ensure that the adolescent girls who are participants that we support have, first of all, access to the information. Then we tell them the dangers of using these media platforms as well. It doesn't just stop at them having the access, but how best can they utilize it? How best can they identify an opportunity and know that, yes, this is where my work lies, and so this is important for me, and I have to utilize it in such a way so that it does not backfire, and you know that there is minimal backlash when it comes to that. However, we see that it's still persistent.
Yeah.
There is excitement in the rural areas because of the gadgets, because of curiosity,
That is right.
which is a bit different when you look at it from the urban perspective, where people have the gadgets, yes, they can easily access internet, electricity, but then there's a lot of misinformation as well circulating within these platforms.
Okay.
So for our people within the communities, our constant engagement with them really helps them a lot. We create a lot of awareness, a lot of sensitization around these issues that they might face if at all they either send information wrongfully or someone shares the information without their consent. So they are aware, they are sensitized occasionally. Most of the times we usually talk to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayanja, the laws that have been enacted and rolled out to address and deal with gender-based violence in Uganda are evidently strong on paper. But many times challenges of enforcement of digital violence and identifying of perpetrators and also holding them accountable has often come into, debates where we know who said what, when, which platform they used, when they did it, but the capacity to enforce, what are the reporting barriers that you're dealing with, and maybe talk to us about the constraints that can be rectified by more resources coming through.
Yeah, thank you. I think this is very pertinent, and I want to appreciate that as a country, but also as government, we are grappling with this. That's why the popular saying that Uganda leads and others follow in terms of policy and law formulation. However, let me speak specifically for GBV programming in terms of access to justice by the victims, or in the social language that we call the survivors. I think the statistics today in terms of access to justice, but also reporting these cases either to different service points that survivors receive justice, has actually increased. From the time when we were formulating the National Policy on Elimination of GBV in 2016, access and reporting cases of GBV was estimated below 10%. Today, we are celebrating that these statistics are actually, it has gone up in terms of reporting. Reporting of GBV cases now, it is now at 47%. But if I also referred you to the recent published report by the annual crime police report of 2024, it also reveals how many cases have been reported to police, those ones that have been produced in court, and those ones that have actually attracted conviction and sentence. And so you see that where we came from in 2016 in terms of access to justice, because that was one of our biggest pillars in that national policy of ensuring that we are ending impunity. Because one of the key issues why GBV at different level, let me give you an example where you use that impunity comes in a form of power over. For you who is here, as MD, you may wish to sexually harass all the female that are below you. So that specific pillar in terms of increasing access to justice, ending impunity, we are seeing a trend in terms of improvement. But specifically, in terms of increasing our efficacy as a country to ensure that the laws and policies are implemented, I think this one, we have adopted what we are calling a multi-sectoral approach, bringing every stakeholders, especially the jealous system, justice and law sector. And you have seen that actually this partnership and collaboration, it has actually worked. That's why today now, actually this morning, as I'm talking, we have a delegation from South Sudan. They have come to learn from us. There is a special court session at the High Court today, which is actually hearing cases of sexual violence and GBV. So the 9 high courts in the 10 in the cities of Uganda have provided the room to provide special sessions to hear only cases of GBV. Yes, so this one has increased really the tendency of ensuring that we are achieving the implementation, but also the sensitization. You know, the institutions of jealous, there was element we had assumed that, you know, these laws are meant, but they don't understand. So much of the achievement that we have done as a ministry, but also as a government, is ensuring that we are bringing every stakeholder on board for them to understand what is their role in this. I would give you a specific flow, like the Domestic Violence Act of 2010. It has different stakeholders at different levels, including even an LOC one of their role in terms of educating on cases of what? Of GBV. So we have achieved this in terms of that everybody now understands, police understands. There were so many excuses. If a perpetrator, for instance, went at police, I mean a victim, only a form called Police Form 3 was a problem. Today, all police stations in Uganda, I can speak with authority and confident that through that collaboration, these forms are there. In terms of examining, for instance, if it is a sexual violence matter and it requires examination at a medical center, at a center, I think we have built this capacity of the health workers to ensure that this one is taken as a special case and is given all the necessary support that so in terms, I would really appreciate that, yes, we are not there as expected, but we are trying in terms of increasing the implementation of the policies. And our recent review of the national policy on elimination of GBV, we are doing very well. We are doing very well. That's why Ugandans have not even requested for either the review or having another policy, because they are seeing the outcomes. All these articulations of even you now in media, of having a multimedia campaign strategy that even the media houses now, they can articulate GBV. That is right. It has come as a result of ensuring that that collaboration has worked in terms of implementation of the laws. No doubt, and it's an immense honor for Nation Media Group to be able to amplify these conversations and bring them to the forefront of discussion and debate. Madame Adoch, you spoke earlier about the role of men and boys. I just want us to holistically look at it. Boys and men can be perpetrators, victims, but also allies, especially when it comes to the various interventions that are required. But challenges come through when positive masculinity comes into play. How do boys respond to these conversations, especially in communities where traditional beliefs are still very, very much, I don't know how to, worshipped, or where people look at the boys and like, yeah, whatever he does, that's it. That's what he wants. That's what he's supposed to do. How do you deal with these dynamics about gender and power?
Well, engaging boys and men is, I would say, it's a struggle. First of all, there's so many excuses when it comes to the engagement. However, they are the very allies that will help challenge these negative social and traditional norms that we have within our communities. I'll give an example from our program. During engagements with the spouses, there are those that are supportive, and there are those that will probably just come to know what my wife is coming to do every single time they come to a space, because within the communities we have safe spaces where the adolescent girls and the young women come together and they're taken through the social empowerment curriculum, and on top of that they're able to share their concerns within them. And then these concerns are raised, and we offer different platforms within the communities as well for them to share their concerns. Now, when it comes to their spouses being engaged, it is not, I would not say it is smooth. It is not, it has its bumps. However, it is progressive. It is a gradual process, and we really appreciate for those that have taken time to come and also be a part of it, because first they have a lot of buy-in from their fellow men. When the men see men gathering together and advocating for the women's rights, trying to strengthen policies that are not being implemented rightly, they get motivated, and so they get curious, and then that lets them come in to also offer full support. Their full support is very influential, because the very perpetrators of GBV could also be the very people that would challenge these harmful traditional and social norms within our communities.
That is right.
So it's extremely important that we engage them, and we engage them through our different conversations. On a weekly basis, we have these sessions with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think in support of the various sessions that BRAC does roll out, this responsibility is not just for government to be the lead actor. Communities, schools, parents, as well as young people have a role to play. I do not know what initiatives on the part of the Ministry of Gender and indeed government are being rolled out in schools and institutions that do bring together these young people often.
Yeah, actually, to pick from what Immaculate was actually alluding to, is that the Ministry of Gender has led in developing the male involvement strategy to end violence against women and girls, but also now violence against men and boys. And the key question that we're asking in that strategy was that who still holds the power? But also, besides looking at men and boys as perpetrators, we're also saying they are speaking and they are giving feedback to say we're also going through violence. And this violence that the young boys, now today, if they're talking about sexual violence against boys, one would ask, how is a boy sexually violated, for instance, or a man? But you have seen very growing cases of sodomy, for instance, of young men. Actually, use of media, they are enticed. They put baits, and they are put in one place. Before you know it, they are engaging into that. So what we are doing in collaboration with Ministry of Education, which is part of the National Task Force of Ending Violence in Schools, is to demystify, use that channel, train the senior women teachers and the senior male teachers, speak to PTAs, school management committees, but also have what we are talking, what we refer as a talking compound with these messages. But within, we're also developing what we call a referral pathway within the school. Now, that referral pathway is going to give impetus to the students within the school for them to be able to know that in case of violence, when violence happens, I have this point that I will report within the school. And so this sensitization actually is going on. But now those ones, they're the ones who are in school. What of those ones that are out of school but they're young people? So we're also developing the sexuality education out of school, which we are calling it life skills, the young people who are out of school, to provide this information on violence against them. And now, in our case, we are saying we are not only now targeting the girls, we are now targeting the boys. Because, like she has said, when you empower boys with this information, why they should not be the perpetrators, they will become allies definitely. They will look at girls as their partners in development. They will not look at them as subjects or subordinates. So I think we are passing this message to ensure that you know the times have changed. We need now partners, we need now allies, and therefore everybody must be brought. Even one who is actually perpetrating innocently needs to know that maybe they are doing things because they were living in the social norms. So our key point in that message of engaging the young boys or the young men is to ensure that we are shifting and transforming the social norms, because that is the gist of the matter. All these problems are between our background, where we are coming from, because either we are trained, we have been trained and told this is how a man should behave. So shifting and transforming the social norms, I think it is very key, and that is a very big target now in our National Action Plan, and that's why we are asking government, but also with a very big sub-program under the Human Capital Program of community mobilization and mindset change. We want to call upon all Ugandans that and our state non-actors like Black to ensure that they are coming out to support on how do we accelerate community mobilization, how do we accelerate community education, how do we speak to the people for them to appreciate that, you know, we need to work together as women, as men, as boys and girls.
Okay. All right, this is a question that can be answered by both of you. It's about economic empowerment that is often cited as a very powerful tool in reducing vulnerability to violence, including digital violence. And of course, a community that is engaged in productive work is less likely to find itself as a victim of some of these vices. I don't know, across the country, are there specific areas that can work as vivid examples that others can replicate or readily copy in order to reduce digital violence and violence at whole by becoming actively involved in economic activities? You can take it on first.
Okay, thank you so much for the question. Maybe I'll start from what Mayanja was talking about, because it also strongly relates to economic empowerment. Economic empowerment provides independence. Once a woman is independent, then her vulnerability reduces. Yes. So there's so many options and choices that she can make once she's economically empowered. But many a times in the communities that we come from, the backlash of economic empowerment, especially from the spouses and even the fellow women themselves, becomes too much for even someone to hold. And so these backlashes, the notions that come with people saying, you're competing with a man, why do you want to be over the man? Why do you want to, move past a certain stage? And yet the community or the society has already set you to a certain level. That is, you're supposed to be inferior, you do not have questions, you don't question, rather, you do not make decisions, you do not even influence policies. That is what the society has taught women and girls to be. However, when we come up with economic empowerment, we are challenging that stereotype. We are saying that, look, we are not competing, but we are trying to change these patterns that are negatively affecting us, because we wouldn't want to have a society or a country that 90% or 80% of the women are backwards. They are not empowered economically, neither are they even empowered socially. So as we come up to advocate for policies to strengthen policies in line with preventing GBV, we are also trying to emancipate, we are trying to provide safety, we are trying to provide urgency, because to me, real empowerment is actually urgency.
Urgency, yeah.
Yes, urgency, safety, the influence to make decisions, the opportunity for a woman or a girl, or even the boys to be able to say out their concerns. That to me is real empowerment. You will not compete and say that let me compete with Mayanja. No, me and Mayanja are totally different. But yeah, we can coordinate, yes, we can ensure that we have a sustainable livelihood and we grow together. So the patterns that can also be challenged, especially the negative ones. Yeah, and those are some of the notions that within the communities we are really struggling with, but we are also fighting them through the different interventions and initiatives that we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe as we close, Mr. Mayanja, you will just try to demystify the fact that many of these interventions could be kind of pointing to addressing digital violence and generally violence against mostly women and children, but there is a tendency for these programs to lie into the political frame. So people might misunderstand the intervention being undertaken by the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. Is it a political initiative to empower people as citizens? There is a lot to question there. How do you break away from those misconceptions?
Yeah,
very quickly.
Yeah, I think that is very important, but what I want to inform Ugandans is that government underscores the importance of women economic empowerment, because the logic here is that you can't render 52%, the biggest proportion of the population, to be redundant and just consumptive. That is the business case that we are making. That if you pull the 50% because they constitute the biggest population of the country to be in the labor market, to be working, then it means the GDP of the country is going to grow. You cannot convince me. Today we are talking about a 10-fold growth strategy. That the current GDP growth of the country is $50 million, and we want to turn it $500 million in the next 5 years. So by implication, if you empower the women economically, then it means gender equality at household will be seen. The rate at growth, I mean the rate of growth at a family level, it will be seen. Now, why is it important in terms of connecting with the conversation today is that investing in women, definitely they will contribute in terms of also equipping the household with technology that can facilitate those areas where men would even start shouting that, you know, the woman is not, my wife is not available to do this. Case is a washing machine, for instance. It could do answer that if a woman is economically empowered there. Yeah. Technologies like the cooking equipments and all of that. It means now for you, for me, I don't think if I'm leaving home, I cannot switch on a percolator for me to have tea. So it makes sense that we are reducing the burden of this one person who would be actually contributing the growth of a household, that everybody indeed. But lastly, on the question whether Ugandans have, there is a myth, is that Ministry of Gender, we are leading in addressing the vulnerabilities where a social protection ministry that looks at different vulnerabilities of the people. And by time, we are saying women economic empowerment programs like UWEP, Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Program, grow, then it means it is an affirmative action of pulling that and addressing that vulnerability of access to credit. For instance, women would be lacking collateral to go in the bank.
Okay.
So if you are not bringing a special program, then it means they will continue lagging behind and they will not be accessing credit. So it makes economic sense in investing in women to ensure that we equalize, but also we increase on the growth of our GDP, because every member of the population should contribute.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mayanja. Eid Mubarak and Immaculate Adoch, Technical Sector Officer, Community Mobilization, Gender Equality and Social Inclusion at BRAC, for the insights into what is being done to ensure that digital violence is addressed. And of course, Mr. Mayanja, the Principal Women in Development Officer at the Ministry of Labour, Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development there, underscoring what is being rolled out in terms of government interventions. For you out there, it is important that you use the digital platforms very responsibly and do not become a perpetrator, a facilitator, but a critical ally in reversing this